Late at night a few days ago, I got a comment asking, how do you write melodies for hyperpop? I thought it was a good idea for a video, but it didn't quite have the extra oomph. I started thinking about how to make the video more spicy, give it that extra appeal. Then it came to me, how to write melodies like insert top producer name. There was only one that came to mind, the one and only Umru. The very next morning, I woke up and I saw a tweet saying that he was going to be doing a live stream in a few hours. It felt like everything had been lined up for this video to be made, so I made sure to hop on that live stream and take as many notes as I could. I learned a bit about his production style and felt all the more inspired to make this video. Now, a few of you might be saying, well, wait, who is this Umru guy?
Who are you?
If you don't know, this guy is one of the best producers out there. He's got songs with some of the top artists in the game, and he's got a real consistent sound to his music that lets you know it's his. Now, Umru just released a sample pack. In that pack, there's drum sounds, but also some melodies included as well. So I figured I'd take a look at 3 of them, and I'd study them, remake them, create presets, and change them up a bit. All of that brings us to this video where I'm going to show you the things I learned and how you can create melodies like this too. To start off, we're going to focus on layers. In the recent live stream that was on Splice's Twitch, Umru explained that he doesn't use a lot of layers. He said he'd rather not spend a lot of time mixing, and I feel that. This just means using less instruments, and the ones that we do use are going to be multi-purpose. Some of the sounds are going to have to be really rhythmic, filling in for like a rhythmic chord sort of deal. Let's talk about rhythms. 2 rhythms that I picked up on were offbeat rhythms and dotted 8 rhythms. By offbeat rhythms, I mean the chords don't change on the 1, 2, 3, 4 like here. They'll change on like the and. Here's another example of the chords changing off the beat. And then the dotted 8th rhythm I talked about. 10-second explanation, 1 bar, 4 beats. You take one of these and just extend it a little bit, duplicate it, and bada bing, bada boom. That's the rhythm. This is the combination of that dotted 8th rhythm plus some offbeats. Let's talk about instruments now. Some of the common ones are the aggressive trance saw pluck. And here's another one. Let's speedrun this explanation. Take a saw wave, unison, put a low pass filter on it, throw an envelope onto the cutoff, make that envelope really short. In effects, make that wide, put some chorus and some unison on it, and then slap on some dotted 8th note delay and some reverb, and that should pretty much get you there. If you want to be a little extra, you can do a pitch envelope. I did a 41 millisecond decay, and I threw that on the coarse pitch of both synthesizers. It makes it a bit more plucky. Then what you want to do to add variation is to open the cutoff of the filter. That's how you get the sound to open up. Another sound you hear on these is a very high bell. Here's another one. And another one. You can really make that sound doing just about anything. I did some square waves, really high octave, added a ton of delay and reverb. And for this one in particular, I wanted the attack to be slow. I made this other one with sine waves. Yeah, the main thing is just to throw a ton of reverb on there. They're very sparse. You see this one is barely playing at all. Small little areas of ambience. Another thing to notice about the instruments is there's a lot of delay, and it's usually 8th note or dotted 8th delay. This is the Melody 1 pluck. We're really cranking up that delay. The chords in this section also have delay, and it is dotted 8th note, but on ping pong, so it just throws it in the left and the right speaker. And there was another more sneaky way of doing delay in here as well that I'd never really seen before, and that was doing delay with an arpeggiator. In the Ableton arpeggiator, you're able to put on something called decay. So normally for an arpeggiator, if you hold down the note, it will just repeat it. But if you turn on this decay function, it will decay the velocities over time. And for the chords on Melody 1, it's just a sine wave with delay and reverb on it. Another instrument you'll hear a whole lot is some sort of metallic synth. So let me show you some tips on how to make something like that. I'll use the saw wave again and just turn this into a pluck sound. One of the things you can do is throw on a millisecond delay, something around 20 milliseconds. Throw up the feedback a little in the mix, and it sounds like this now. I'll turn that off, and I'll show you how to do it with the reverb. I'll be using a small reverb with medium-ish decay and 100% mix. And on Serum, I turn off the spin effects. I'll turn that off. And another way of doing this is an envelope on the pitch. So in Serum, I would just drag envelope 3 over here, turn this into one way by holding Alt-Shift or Option-Shift and click. Sustain all the way down, make this really short. Altogether, you can sound something like this. That's basically how I made this preset above. Another sort of instrument you can add in is some background vocals. This is the type of thing I'm talking about. Speed tutorial. First thing you do is record the vocals yourself. And then I pitch them up 6 semitones. Sounds a little chipmunky. Then I put on just a little pitch correction. I'm routing MIDI into there, have a blank MIDI channel, so nothing's on it. Send it to the channel with the vocals on it, specifically Waves Tune, the tuning plugin I'm using. Gotta click this, but that forces the pitch to be exactly these notes. Next I have on a plugin called Manipulator, pitching it up 2 octaves, but keeping the formant at just 5. That's where we get that nice little sound. Then I put on an OTT multiband compressor. Really brings everything out. Put on a big ol' reverb. Take out the low end and some of the nasty high end that was created. And to get that sidechained pumping effect, I use LFO Tool. You can also just draw in a volume automation. And then I put the volume of that down a bunch so it just stays in the background. So in this loop, you've got some chords that are your every song chords. You hear them all the time. It's just a saw wave cut off. That's all it is. Just because it's used a lot doesn't mean it's not good. Here it is all together. In the final melody, it's just 2 instruments, but we're getting so much use out of them. This is what's going on in the first one. The main sound in this one is a square wave with portamento on it. The portamento means it's just going to take time to get to each note. It sounds like a pitch bend. And on it, I'm using some of those metallic effects I talked about, especially the delay. And I turn this one into like a crazy lead bass sound. It starts about here. That happens because I'm like slamming the sub through the distortion. I just turn on this sub right here and then turn on the distortion, and I'm using 0 square. Maybe that's like a tutorial for a different time though. And for this arpeggio in the background, I'm using a vocal pluck that I made. You just sing a note and then you can throw it into Serum. I made a tutorial on it. It's called like how to vocal chop. It's time to talk about the notes. I'm talking the individual pitches. What do you do? How do you write it? So if you're asking that question and don't really have a musical background, I would say just stick to the white notes and create your melody just using those notes. And then what you can do is transpose it, so shift it up and down a few pitches. That'll get you really far. Taking a look at one of these phrases, the initial idea is da da da, and you can see that over here. It didn't stay on this note like it does in the beginning. There's just small notes that are different. In a phrase like this, always be adding or changing, never just repeating exactly the same stuff. In the entire loop, you want to have some sort of changes. So I'm talking about automation. An easy one is to automate the cutoff to open up. Another would be to add in distortion over time, adding in noticeable differences so it doesn't sound the same as the first time that you introduced the idea. Some of the patterns I noticed in all of these loops were out of the way chords and also like breathing verb plucks. What I mean by breathing is they aren't playing all the time. Lots of open space, and when it's sustained, it doesn't really stick out. And that's what's happening in Melody 2 as well. It's really out of the way. It has a lot of space in there, and that's what you need if you're going to put vocals on the top of it. Alright, so that's it for this video. I hope it was helpful if you were looking for ways to improve your melodies. As for all the presets in this video, I didn't feel like I made enough to make a pack, so I'll probably make a new one sometime soon, and those will be in it. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe if you're new. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.